right, hello and welcome again to another Credible Vets Report. My name is Craig Slate, and joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Matt Mandel. We want to thank you guys all for joining us. On this week's episode, we'll be updating you on all the weather that's around the country and how that's potentially affecting crops. There is a bright spot coming out of the Midwest. They may have some good news for both your wallet and your holiday celebrations for sure. We will touch a little bit on a Listeria outbreak that took place over in the Northeast, and then we're going to wrap up the early part of the show with some information on technology and how that may change the labor concerns that we've got here in the produce space. Matt, welcome, my friend. Welcome back. I mean, it's been a couple of episodes. You've been trotting around the globe. How goes it?
It goes well. I'm happy to finally be back after 3 weeks on the road. Traveled through, I think I said 9 different airports in 15 different days. So I'm happy to be back home in the old driver's seat, as they say, and ready to rock and roll. Another week of the Credible Vegetable Report.
So how was the weather over there? Did you find yourself? I know you hit a couple of different weather climates, so you touched on a couple of different ones. In fact, what, 4 different weather climates basically?
Well, so Italy, it
Yeah.
was hot and humid.
Okay.
To Ireland, which was cool, balmy, and slightly rainy. Iceland, which was cold and mostly rainy. Back through Canada into the United States, and when I landed, it was a reasonable 104 degrees, considering it had been 117 2 days prior. Then over to Baja California, where the weather was actually beautiful. It was, upper 60s, low 70s, full sun in the afternoon. Great growing conditions.
Sounds amazing. So yeah, for sure. So yeah, the body. I don't know how you react to all of that, but I guess you just learn to adjust over the couple of days, and then you have to adjust again, right?
Sleeping's never been my forte, so my body just kind of goes with the flow. Uh, and I'm not entirely sure where I am half the time or what time it is, what day it is, but I just get up and go.
Yeah, that's your normal state, right?
Just keep going. It doesn't
Yeah,
really matter
just
where you
you
are or
don't know
what
where
you're
you
doing.
yeah you don't
Get the
never know
job
you
done.
never know where you're at, right? Yeah, so for sure.
Exactly.
Well, so you missed the last couple of weeks. Hurricane season or tropical storm season or whatever is underway, and looks like we've got another hurricane heading for the Gulf Coast
We do. So we've got Hurricane
or the Gulf
Beryl.
of Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah, Hurricane Beryl's in the Caribbean right now. It is a Category 5 as of right now on the Saffir-Simpson scale. However, because of the size of
Yeah.
the
How do you wait a
hurricane,
second? Stop you there, right there. How do you get to be
yeah.
Category 5?
So the Saffir-Simpson scale measures the wind speeds of a hurricane. I believe it's 170 miles an hour or
Dang.
greater. Uh, Gets you to a Category 5. That said, because of the size of Beryl, it's while it does have a tight eye, it's a very large storm. So the wind speeds are not building the same pressure it would if it were a smaller, more compact storm. So while it does have very high wind speeds at the moment, um, the estimates are, when it does finally make landfall, when it crosses over the Yucatan and when it does make landfall in northeastern Mexico, the southern tip of Texas, it may not be as strong as some of the other Category 5 storms that have made landfall. That said, there's still a lot of time between now and the end of the weekend when it's supposed to make landfall over mainland USA. So there's a lot that could theoretically change. The water in the Gulf of Mexico is much warmer than normal, so there is a possibility that while it will lose strength going over the Yucatan, that it could intensify once again in the Gulf. And while I don't think it will be a major hurricane, that would be a Cat 4, Cat 5. when it makes landfall, it will still be a very large, very powerful hurricane.
Well, I'm guessing it's going to be a major hurricane for the Yucatan, right? Because if it's Category
Yes,
5
absolutely.
now, and so they're the Belize, Yucatan, that area of the world's gonna get uh, a big
They will
dose. Is
get
that correct?
pummeled for sure. But by the time, the prediction is Saturday night, Sunday morning for it to make landfall in northeast Mexico or southern Texas. At that point in time, they're not entirely sure what category it will be because they are expecting it to lose some of its strength as it crosses over land in the Yucatan.
So, in the Yucatan, I know there's some guys out on the East Coast that's doing some crops there. Is that this time of year or is that during the wintertime?
Now, typically, while there's going to be some tropicals that are grown there that this time of year, as far as the crops that we typically tend to focus on, all of that production is going to be during the winter months. So,
Gotcha. So,
and there is some protected agriculture there in the Yucatan, so that could be threatened by this storm.
yeah, yeah, it would be for sure. Those things they don't hold up too well under 40-mile-an-hour winds. You get 100 plus, and those dudes are coming down.
Well, hopefully they have the shades rolled up, and it's
Yeah,
pretty much just the structure at this point in time. So hopefully it
yeah.
will be able to withstand the wind speeds.
Well, and we've talked, and again, we'll see what it finally gets there, but hopefully it brings a good water dose to the South Texas group, and they got a pretty good shot that the last little tropical storm that came through, and this dude could bring a lot of water.
Yeah. So, and when we talk about the strength of the winds, if it does not gain a lot of additional strength when it crosses over the Gulf, the slower moving storms do tend to drop much more concentrated rainfall when it does make landfall. So, when you're looking at northeast Mexico and the Rio Grande Valley, there's a very good chance that there's going to be some localized flooding issues. We've talked about potential logistical disruptions that could happen the early part of next week. People need to have contingency plans in place, and hopefully, God forbid, everybody, on the personal level, stay safe out there. Stay in your home. Don't go
Yeah,
take unnecessary drives. All the different precautions. I don't work for the weather service, and I can't tell you exactly what to do, but I can tell you exactly what not to do. So please, everybody, stay safe out there, and hopefully the power stays on, and the flooding is minimal
yeah,
as
for
Beryl
sure.
makes
Yeah, I
landfall.
mean, they need, it's the way it works. I mean, they need the water, but it's not great to get it all at one time, but uh, it's always got to get some relief, and hopefully this brings some in. But speaking of relief and weather, uh, it's hot in a few places, both the southeast and the Pacific coast. In fact, as I was making my way into California, although coming from Tucson, heat advisories they're a little different here. So
Everything's relative, right?
it is relative, yeah. So there's a sign as I'm coming into the Salinas Valley. There's and it said, be aware of extreme heat, heat advisory or whatever, and make sure you drink lots of fluids. And I looked at the temperature on the car, and it was 77. So I'm like,
Whew, whew.
I mean, where are we going?
So
I mean,
I'm
we got a
surprised
ways
you
to go.
survived.
Well, and I can only assume that they're expecting it to get hotter, but I mean, what is a heat advisory? Yeah, but Pacific, I know down in Southern Cal for sure, and then out on the southeast, yeah, there's some serious heat coming, unusual heat situations
For
going on
sure.
in both places, and
Yeah,
that
and
that will definitely affect crops over in California for sure.
that's what I was about to touch on is they are expecting a warmer than usual summer for most of the U.S. It's going to make growing conditions pretty tricky in a lot of places. California right now is going to be, you know, I know you're on the west side of the mountain pass there, but just to the east of you there in Salinas, it's going to get pretty spicy. and it's going to definitely have some effects on the crops out that way. And then obviously the entire East Coast, they've been having warmer than normal temperatures as well. And while hurricane season is just starting, unless some of these storms make their way up there, they're not going to. There's no relief in sight for those guys.
Well, I did read a report, so there's some good news, at least from some growers out of Ohio. They claim their weather's been good, and they've got good outlook for some of their summer production right now, and hopefully they can avoid it. But yeah, they're looking like they're going to have a good run, at least based on the reports that I was reading this week. So I don't know. I guess is the Midwest avoiding some of this stuff?
I'm everything I've heard has been on the coasts, so
Yeah.
I don't really have any weather to report on the Midwest. So good for them.
Good for them, yeah. Somebody, and then, like I say, for the consumers, maybe they'll get a little bit of a price break because I think that all this heat and like I say, these massive rains in Texas, it's gonna affect the crops, and it's going to absolutely affect what's available in pricing
Yeah.
for sure. So hopefully at least the Midwest can have some success and do this whole deal. Uh, on a concerning note, I guess. I mean, we get these recalls coming out. Salada Foods out of New York had a recall this week, and I believe it's on Listeria, correct?
That's what I'd heard. Listeria on fresh spinach.
So tell me, what's the difference? Listeria, Salmonella. I mean, one's worse than the other one, correct?
So yeah, so Listeria it's actually found everywhere. Listeria is on pretty much every surface everywhere. However, in order for an outbreak to occur in Listeria, you actually have to have a pretty high concentration of Listeria. And so when you do see a Listeria outbreak, it tends to be a little more concerning from an operational standpoint because it usually means that there's been some type of breakdown in your processes where there has been not just a small amount of contamination but a significant portion of contamination, and that's really what leads to the illnesses. You have to have a significant concentration of Listeria in order to make somebody ill. So it tends to be a little more concerning when you hear about a Listeria outbreak than a Salmonella outbreak.
Than Salmonella, yeah. I knew one was, like I say, more concerning, whatever, and it looks like, at least from what I read, production's been stopped out of there, I think, until they can kind of figure out what went wrong. And I don't know, probably everybody's read about it, but if you haven't, this is the first you're hearing about it, it's anything stamped with a June 20th, 2024, and June 2020, June 24th and June 20th of 24. So avoid those. But yeah, I mean, for all of us in this business, I mean, it's a constant battle. I mean, I know for anybody that I know for us, with SunFed, but just anybody you work with, I mean, it's a constant battle every day to make sure that processes are followed correctly and you're checking all the dotting the i's, crossing the t's, everything you can when it comes to food safety. And it's a difficult, really difficult, just to get to 100% in the industry.
Well, and I mean, let's be realistic. We're dealing with raw commodities, right? So there's never a guarantee that you're going to 100% kill every single pathogen possible. And frankly, my perspective, I think food safety is far greater now than it ever has been. There
Yeah.
are more checks and balances. There's so much more focus put on it from a producer standpoint that I think we're really getting better at tracing and tracking these outbreaks, and you probably read more about them than you used to, because they're that much easier to connect the dots as far as the logistics of products now, where they're being sold, who they're being sold to, where they're being grown, and a lot of that has to do with the produce traceability initiative, which thankfully, gives us an even greater level of confidence that we know where the products we're consuming are coming from. So while we'll never get to 100% in ensuring that there will never be any pathogens on the food that we are producing and distributing, I think we're in a far greater place than we've ever been when it comes to food safety.
Yeah. No, I would 100% agree with that. And yeah, it's a constant battle. And like you say, getting to 100%, kill on that just it seems like a difficult place to get to. But I know as an industry, and I wish with this kind of stuff there was more education on how much the industry is doing and how committed the industry is to, you know, avoiding this stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
all of
And
us
it's a,
want it to be there.
yeah, and frankly, it's a subject that nobody really wants to talk about, because then you have to say what I just said, and that's that we will never be 100% free of any pathogens on the foods that we're shipping. But
Yeah.
it's a difficult subject to discuss without opening the door to all the questions of, well, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And how can I be sure that the food I'm eating is safe?
Yeah. For sure. And it is, like I say, it is a difficult conversation and something that, like I say, it's a reality, though, that we have to deal with. Well, hey, something that is real as we are recording this the day before our celebration of independence, the old 4th of July is upon us. You got a big 4th of July plan. What do you got on your agenda?
Uh, Usually I send text messages to my friends in the UK and tell them to enjoy their day of work. But no,
Oh, you don't
nice
bash
calm
you
day
don't
with
what
the
so
family.
you send your UK friends and bash them about the fact that this is the day we celebrate when we defeated them and we declared our
Well,
independence. Is
I
that?
just remind them that they're working today for some unknown reason while we have the day off, and just
Yeah, I got you.
let them extrapolate the reason why.
Well, they take plenty of holidays for sure. So I don't think giving them a hard time for one day is gonna be a big deal. But what is a big deal though? So Rabobank this week had a report out called the Barbecue Index. And what they do is they take it's a 10-person cookout and they do a price calculation on that. They've been doing this every year. This year looks like will be the last year for 10 folks on the barbecue index that'll be below $100. It was $99 for this year's what it came back in. Now the amazing thing to me was on that was when you looked at it over the 14 years, it's up 30% since over the last 14 years is the increase. I mean, if you go back all the way back to 2010, it was closer to about $60 for 10 people, and now it's 99 and on its way above 100.
And I don't know if you've actually looked at the specifics of how they break down the costs within the barbecue index. This is the first year I actually looked at it in detail, and I think they said that the two main items in the barbecue represent over 30% of the total costs, and that was meat and beer. Um, and one of the largest
So
increases.
not fresh
Those
produce?
two
What are you talking about?
I
Meat and beer?
well, and I also thought the dollar amount that they had listed per person for beer costs was probably a little on the low side, at least the barbecues that I've attended. Uh, but those two items representing over 30% of the total spend there, and both of those items were up significantly um, over the 14-year period. So I don't know if that's because more people are drinking fancy beers instead of your Bud Lights and Coors Lights, or if it's the actual cost of the beer itself. But the fact that meat and produce both had gone up, significant amounts as well. Um, it's indicative of the inflation that we've seen at the retail level.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess when you get down to it, and that's an important message, right? So meat and beer, they're 30% on a dollar value, right? But there's a lot of corn and there's a lot of watermelon consumed during most Fourth of July celebrations. And the reality of it is produce is still the best value for your dollar. So
Yeah.
I would argue that they, if you looked at it on a consumption basis, I bet they would be close, or they would rival the amount of meat that's consumed. But the fact is, the price per pound on meat versus, the cost of produce is less, and so it doesn't represent a big portion of the dollar value. So that's just a point that it's the best place to get your value. If you want to keep your 10-person celebration under $100 next year, cancel. I'm not gonna say cancel the beer because nobody's gonna do that, but cancel the meat and
No,
just
no,
go fresh
nobody I know.
produce. So yeah, just do corn on the cob, grilled zucchini. Got to have some grilled zucchini out there on your Fourth of July. So anyway, yeah, there's definitely been some inflation for us on the produce side, but it's definitely not been like some of the other places in terms of like the beer guys and the meat guys. They've got a little more pricing power, I think, than we do on the produce side for whatever reason.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. So. Well, hey, another thing, it's summertime and it's hatch chili pepper time over in New Mexico. So, do you know why it's called hatch peppers?
Well, I'm assuming it's because they came from Hatch, New Mexico. Now
That's
I
a
could
good
be
assumption.
wrong, but that would be my guess.
uh, you are correct, sir. Hatch, they're about to get rocking and rolling. Have you ever had roasted hatch chili peppers?
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
obviously where we live and in New Mexico, you go to all the
yeah.
grocery stores, they're sitting there roasting them outside the store, and you can get them fresh and hot. And for me, that's the best way to get them. I mean, I'll cook them at home if I have to, but if they're if they're going to roast them for me, even better.
Yeah, that's a lot that a lot of people around the country, I don't think they get to experience that. I mean, I don't know. I don't live other parts of the country, but yeah, I think that that roaster out in front of the grocery store is kind of exclusive to us over in the Southwest. And maybe they've expanded that footprint a little bit to some other areas, but yeah, it's a cool time of year. Love having the chili roasters out front, and like you say, grabbing those hatch peppers. So that should be coming to a grocery store near you sometime, probably next month, is my guesstimation.
Hopefully.
Oh,
So, and I mean, we've
indeed.
got we've got a jar of Hatch green chili in the fridge, and we go through that. And I mean, my wife and I, we slather that on just about everything we eat. But getting them fresh is so much better than the jarred stuff.
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. Well, look, let's take a little turn into some technology. Yeah, I don't know. I've been talking labor costs now for about everything. Every episode of anything I've done, was the Fresh Credit, the Credible Veg Report, and Hewlow Farms over in Kent, England. Where probably near someplace you were traversing there a few days ago, but they're in Kent, England. They have found themselves apparently on the forefront of commercial robotic harvesting. Now, these dudes have got this robot through a company called Dogtooth Technologies picking strawberries. So, there's at least a picture of it. Now, whether it's actually doing anything, I can't confirm because I wasn't there. But yeah, they got this robot dude going through picking strawberries.
The I've actually seen a video of this thing in operation. It's pretty impressive, and I think they're building AI technology into the optics piece of it, so they can actually go through and look at the strawberries, make sure that they're whatever the parameters they set, their optimal ripeness before they even harvest them. And then you couple that with the ability to harvest mechanically, that's going to have huge impacts for both a quality standpoint as well as a labor standpoint. Um, so if you can get that consistency, nothing against humans, but you can set some pretty tight parameters when you're working with technology, and being able to save on that labor while I can't even imagine what the upfront investment is on these things, but with the ever rising cost of labor, it's people are going to continue using traditional labor until the cost of doing so is too painful to continue doing what they've been doing all along. And the more options that we see out there in the marketplace, the more competitors there are in the marketplace, the faster that technology is going to proliferate. And eventually, with enough competitors, the price will begin to come down.
Well, in reading in the report, a couple of things, on the costing side, it looks like this dogtooth group, which I don't know who comes up with these names, but but either way, they're pricing it on a per kilo basis, and instead of you making a big upfront cost on the robot, there, it reminds me of even probably before your days. We used to have these things, copiers, and you had copier salespeople, right, that went around and nobody wanted to spend the money, that it cost to buy a big old copier. So what they basically charge you is on the number of pages that you ran on a copy, which, it's a much more affordable way. And then they're also, I guess, due to the heat during the day, they're running the robots at night. So the way they were operating this is they're operating at night, and then they got human labor, picking during the day. So you basically are kind of full cycle 24 hours a day, picking with the robots when the humans are sleeping, and the humans are, while the robots are resting and staying cool, the humans are out doing it. So it's kind of a combination of the two, but I don't know, interesting concept for sure.
Absolutely. So are they then using infrared at night to be able to see that, or are they harvesting under lights at night?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. The definitive answer straight from Craigslist.
They're using one of those. I don't know which one. It just says that they were doing it due to the fact that the machines and the heat, I guess, they themselves generate in the heat of the day, made it better to try and do it at night. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they were doing it under lights, and probably utilizing some infrared. I would guess that they're probably using both, but again, I didn't get that far into it, so I apologize. I didn't
Stay tuned for more
Yeah,
info.
so. Hey there, Cred heads. Craig Slate here. And I just want to take a few minutes to take you through a little bit about what we're trying to do here at the Fresh Cred. Give you an insight into what's our mission and kind of what's our vision here. The mission ultimately is to drive fresh fruit and vegetable consumption. That's it. We want to do that ideally in the U.S., but if we can do it on a global scale, even better. And how are we going to do that? What's the vision? Well, we're utilizing this platform, which I believe is a great platform that a lot of people are gaining information and knowledge from, which is podcasting and video casting, if you will. And we're going to take and utilize this platform to connect leaders, to connect with the frontline people in the industry that are on the front lines, selling this stuff every day, to eventually connecting with consumers. That's eventually where we're going to go, and we're going to have a full connection between leaders in the industry, frontline workers, all the way to consumers. And we're going to do that with education and information about the industry and what's going on here. So we welcome you to come and join us here at the Fresh Cred and be part of this journey. So if you want to be part of it, hit me up at Slate at thefreshcred.com. That's C, my last name, Slate, at thefreshcred.com. Shoot me an email, and I will certainly get in touch with you, and we'll talk about how you can be part of this great journey and this vision. We're having a good time. If nothing else, it'll be a lot of fun. So give me a shout. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, let's jump into the markets, and boy, we're squash guys, so let's talk squash. And we had a huge run, and honestly, gray squash is holding up pretty decent. Yellow squash is not too bad, but our good friend the zoot, the big boy, it's a little rough right now when it comes to pricing, isn't it?
It absolutely is. We're shipping. Actually, we're shipping out of all three locations at the moment, but with the majority of our volume coming out of Otay in Southern California, I don't want to say we're struggling, but The volume has definitely come on, and although we have great quality at the moment, the markets are just so at best. Um, we're definitely having to push. If we can get, $8-9 at the high end, I think we're having a pretty good day. Which, I'm laughing, but that's only because I don't want to be crying, based on the markets.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see next, as we go, because the Zoot deal is definitely sub 10, and and like you said, just so much volume against demand, definitely volume outstripping demand. It'd be interesting though with the weather, whatever they get in Texas, could have an effect on that Texas crop, and this heat wave over in California. Um, will have an effect likely from the Baja all the way up, into the Santa Maria area on the squash
Yeah, for
deal.
sure.
But I think it's one of those markets where, and I hate to say it, but I don't know that it can get much more difficult or much worse. But I guess things always can get worse. But
Don't
ideally, I
don't
do
jinx
think
it.
no, I kind of think we're at a bottom. I really do. I think we'll start to see this thing. We'll see more ads come out. We'll see the demand side pick back up because consumers, they're buying corn, they're buying watermelons. They haven't probably been buying. I don't know why. Nobody freaking grills squash, but they should be grilling damn squash for that corn.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one thing that you need to remember is, squash is a fairly easy crop to grow, and there's a lot of people that do plant them in their gardens. And realistically, one squash plant in your garden is enough to satisfy an entire household's typical consumption of squash. So, that being said, the summer months tend to be a slightly lower consumption time frame as far as what goes on at retail sales. For that reason, um, while there still is plenty of production and plenty of sales at the retail level, the fact that there are so many home gardens starting up this time of year, especially with this heat that's coming through, a squash plant for one day to the next, you can have a squash this big to this big. Um, you know, my fingers went off camera there for the fact of the matter is it doesn't take a whole lot of squash being grown at home to really affect retail sales.
That's true, and I will tell you that was I'm probably the one person that can fail at growing squash. While living in Houston, yeah, uh, I had a squash plant, and the damn thing would die. Finally, it was this worm. It was a worm that got in the stalk. I finally had to cut it open, and there was really no way to control the worms that would get in the squash. And so I failed at yellow squash growing in Houston, Texas. So I gave up. That's why I went to selling it versus growing because it was obvious I was not a grower.
Hopefully you're better at selling than you are at growing.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm doing this podcast thing.
Yeah,
So maybe
this is your fallback plan.
this is my fallback on the squash plan. So here we are. Yeah, but organic wise, just real quick, the organic is a different story. Yellow organic squash, I think, is I don't know 35 to 100 somewhere in that neighborhood on on the organic. It's basically if you can find it, Zook north of 20 on that. Uh, Cucumbers, though, as you and I talked a few weeks back, it is holding true to form, not going off uh, the Richter scales, but it's definitely holding pretty firm prices and in line with where we thought it would be, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's nice that as things change, some things remain the same, and the fact that cucumbers tend to have their best run during the summer months. It's something that we've always been able to hang our hat on, and anywhere from what $22 to $24 on supers right now. Solid product. That's those are good numbers for producers, and come and get it while the getting's good.
Yeah, I mean it's a good number for everybody, right? I mean it's the producer side of it, but it's not. It's they can still promote and consumers can still get a good value on that side of it. So yeah, that's the nice thing in the summertime. It's a really well balanced demand and production for the most part. So, but one area that's been a little bit outstripping production has not been keeping up with demand, and that's in the green bell space. Although it's coming down this week, that dude has been on fire and been hard to find. But like I said, getting a little bit of relief this week. Got reports that the crossings into the U.S. have come up a little bit, but more importantly, the North America stuff is starting to come on out of North Carolina, and certainly California's been going, but it's that end of it. So all in all, the green bell market looks like it's kind of stabilizing a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, and this is the time of year where, while I always sing the praises of Mexican production, realistically, the domestic production right now, the quality I've seen has been outstanding. Uh, the fact that they've finally been able to get some good money for their crops, kudos to them, and for the quality that they're putting up, it's well deserved. Well, I I don't know how much of the dip in pricing is going to be a lasting effect. While having more places in production is a good thing, considering all the weather that we just discussed and the fact that, production out of Mexico seems to be down compared to previous years. I think we'll continue to see stronger than the normal markets. And like I said, everything I've seen on the quality side has been outstanding as well. So
And I mean, if you look at, like I say, year over year pricing on the green bells, if what you're saying definitely looks like it's got legs in terms of it. But yeah, for the last, 3, 4 weeks, we have been well ahead on the green belt market against last year. And still, even this week, even with prices coming in, we are significantly above last year. Uh, and yeah, if that holds, I mean, we're talking a significant difference. And I don't know exactly where everybody went uh, in terms of the production versus last year, or if just that many more people are eating green bells. But we're talking 40, 50% higher prices right now than what we saw last year. So
yeah.
interesting for sure. Well, last but not least, our friends over in the Roma category, and that's another one you and I talked about many weeks back, that the summertime tends to be pretty good for that. And it's actually exceeding last year's pricing as well, year over year. Seeing north of $20 on some Romas out there.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, the market was dipping down into single digits, and so the fact that
Yeah,
we're north of $20 on good quality right now, that's indicative of the same trend that we had talked about, the summertime being typically higher pricing and never really having to worry about the minimums set forth in the TSA, the suspension agreement.
yeah.
Uh, Holding true to form and actually probably even a little better than normal right now. I don't, from everything I've seen, while there is a little bit more volume coming on from the people I've talked to, I don't see this pricing moving too much from the levels that it's at right now.
No, and then again, that storm, depending on how far it comes into central Mexico, that last little storm came through. It had some effects for sure because they did get it's the rain and overcast and everything that I know had some effect. But if this storm comes in very far, it'll definitely affect that central Mexico piece and will have a adverse effect on production.
Well, and you got to figure once it hits it into Texas and continues up there through the center part of the United States, there's a lot of tomatoes grown there as well. So
Yeah.
depending on the track of this storm, and frankly, they're talking about higher than normal hurricane activity, and the bulk of it is projected to go into across the Caribbean into the Gulf. So that could make tomato supplies, at least domestic supplies from the center of the country, could put that production in danger.
Well, if anybody listened to this, 5, 6 weeks ago, I think you called that, right? So I think that, what we're seeing, you are already ahead of it. And so, that's the importance of listening to this show is you've got Matt Mandel, who is related to Nostradamus, and he has the ability to see into the future. And he said it's going to be a big hurricane season, and look out, guys, it's going to affect everything. And Matt, it looks like it's proven out to be right in line with what you said, and I know I'm listening to you when we're sitting on this call.
Well, I wish I could say I was coming up with all this information on my own. Meteorology is not my forte, but I thankfully listen to a few people that are thankfully far smarter than myself in this area, and there's a few people you can rely on for good information. So just keep your eyes and ears posted, and if you can't find them, come ask me.
There you go. Ask Matt; he'll tell you. Be it true or not, you'll have to wait and see if he's right or wrong. So, all right, man. Well, look, that's going to bring us down to the close here. Glad to have you back in the saddle, as they say, and yeah, good to catch up and what's going on out there. So, hopefully, you and the family have a great holiday, 4th of July, and you send your friends over in the UK their message.
Same to you, and remember, everybody, be safe out there. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but today's the last day that someone in the United States is going to wake up with 10 fingers. So be safe out there, please, and thank you. And
okay, was that a shot at me? Because that
was not a shot at you.
I wake up every day.
That's my 4th of July message. July 3rd. It's the last day somebody in America is going to wake up with 10 fingers.
I never thought about that. That's true.
Hopefully, it's not going to be any of our listeners.
Well, and guys, if it is, I'll just put this PSA out there. Guys, if you're one of those folks that Matt's referring to, I can tell you, as a 9-digit guy, it's not the end of the world, but it's painful as hell. So, I would suggest, not experiencing it. But anyway, I think that's probably enough on our 4th of July PSAs and welcomings. But yeah, thanks, guys. I want to thank everybody for listening in to the show this week, the Credible Vegetable Report. And also, be sure and check out the Fresh Cred, where Ed and I chop it up with the leaders in the industry. You can easily find the shows. I mean, you can put it in the Google machine, put in the Credible Vegetable Report, something will come up on it. We've got a YouTube channel, the Fresh Cred YouTube channel. It's got all the shows on there. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on however you listen to podcasts. But either way, always ask that you listen in and ask that you comment, give us some feedback, let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, or I don't know, if you want something else in here, throw it in there, give us some feedback. But anyway, thanks everybody. We really appreciate you listening. We appreciate your support, and we will see you guys. Happy 4th of July. Take care. And we're out.